Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Friday at Cardboard Alchemy. I am Peter Vaughan, or whenever you're watching this, actually. It doesn't have to be Friday. We are celebrating a weekend, though, here with, whatever games that we're going to play, whatever you want to play, whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about behind the scenes. We are currently in the delivery of a crowdfunding campaign, our third game produced at Cardboard Alchemy. A little game, tiny game called Andromeda's Edge. It's an 18-card game plus another 200 and 300 cards. It's 18 cards plus a whole bunch of extra cards. It's actually a giant, enormous project, and we're in the middle of delivering it. Oh, and we just released also the best faction of Andromeda's Edge, and Mark says he was just watching the best faction. Mark, what is the best faction in Andromeda's Edge? That game comes with 18 factions. And Rosie and I have been working on the videos for those 18. And the last one, the 18th one released today, all about the Zodian Warmongers, who I will, spoiler, tell you is not secretly my favorite faction. But I actually really do think they are. They're like they were one of our original ones that we made, and they're pretty badass. So the only reason why I wouldn't personally think they're on my top is because they're fighty. They shoot people. They crush, actually. That is usually not my style, but I love the fact that Andromeda's Edge has that style for anybody who likes that type of game and wants to build the Death Claw and hunt people down. Yes, I hear you on no need the game from Zulus. Still no shipping notification. Oh, Andromeda's Edge, come on, where are you? We have actually had, I believe we were in the process of delivering 13,000, so it is taking some time. We hear you if you're still waiting. We are, I think, over 10 to 11,000 have been delivered. But we have gotten copies to retail backers have backed the game, which is really exciting because, we have a certain amount of, I'm freezing. I don't know if anyone's picking up on that. This computer is glitching. I don't know. Rosie, are you seeing that?
Yep, I am, sadly.
My audio is, I don't know if I've got a problem. So I'll bring in Rosie in the chat earlier in case I freeze out. Welcome.
Hello.
And your doggo. Yes. The stream is turned into, we've got a raider on the stream.
Yeah, there's actually photos of him playing Andromeda's Edge. It's quite funny. I have to cut him out all the background of all the faction videos.
Dobby, what is your favorite faction?
What is your favorite faction? I think it would be the wolves.
The wolves, yes.
He does love to howl, which I'm sure he'll show everyone how to do that soon.
Excellent. That's great. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun with those videos. If anybody who's in the chat has seen those videos, let us know if you like that kind of content. We have actually had a lot of people asking for more content of different kinds. We have put out a 4-player game. I know a lot of people are asking about solo, and I saw an amazing solo play go out there, but I know there's still more desire for like setup and things like that. So whatever people want to see when we come back from Essen, I will keep working on more videos for everyone. We also have another one coming from that Tim Chewin filmed, which is a 2v2 where you can see me absolutely destroyed in that game. I can't wait for everyone to watch that one. Just proof that you could be the publisher of a game and not necessarily have an amazing time in terms of victory, but still have an amazing time. I had a blast that game. I had the most fun probably that I've it's like so much fun that game, and I got the floor wiped with me in that game, so I have to work on my ability to play the wolves, apparently.
I mean, Danny and Grant are
Danny Standard and Grant Ryan were the team against Jason Easycat and Headley and I. And Jason did his job. I've mentioned this in stream, but Jason did great. And I wanted everyone to know that it was Jason who held up his end of the bargain. And also, Jason was playing the Flamecraft faction, the Drakarian Flamekeepers, and was in the best character the entire game. Basically played those tiny artisan dragons to the to the best ability that he could. I loved it. I love that game. What really got me is, I'll tell you the raider that was my undoing as well. Not just Danny. Oh no, it's not around. I don't have the raider around.
You mean you don't have all the raiders surrounding
I
you right
have
now?
raiders near me, but I don't have the ancient brain at this exact moment. I don't know why.
I'm just imagining the like actual versions of them all in a crowd just watching you from behind your desk.
There's a lot of raiders surrounding me at all times. There was in the 4-player game, this raider, the Chupa. Oh man, look at that thing. The Chupa of Vampra that got everybody in the game where Tim was playing. It's my least favorite, or my favorite to hate, I would say, because it makes it so you can't play cards without a penalty, and I have lost a game for that reason.
Do you know if they do those fun sizes like we've done with the Flamecraft dragons, how big they are? Do you know for the raiders like how big they are? Like,
yeah, when we made miniatures for Dwellings of Eldervale, they tended to be like I had studied so look at this thing. I'd studied not Gloomhaven, Blood Rage, and I measured those miniatures. Those were like my way of saying, like, well, what size should a miniature be? And there's the miniatures of Blood Rage are about 55 millimeters tall. And for those who play D&D, a typical miniature in a D&D game, sort of a giant one, is about 28 millimeters tall, and then a regular mini could be anywhere around 18 to 20. I mean, like there's tiny miniatures out there, and characters in D&D can be all the way down to like that size, that small size. And so when we made Dwellings, we said, okay, we're going to make the big ones 55, 60, and then we're going to make the Minotaur and the Shapeshifter, we're going to make those 28 because those feel like that's a pretty chunky small one. So we decided 28 and 55 are going to be our guidelines. And then when we made Mission Catastrophe, we made all of the characters 28. And then when we made Flamecraft, I felt like that was a little small, and I wanted the Flamecraft dragons to be a little bit higher. So our target for Flamecraft was about 35 millimeters. And then when we came back to Andromeda's Edge, we decided there is no size limitation. And so I will say that the hive is 90 millimeters wide. This is insane. Whew, I just dropped it too.
It doesn't like being handled.
I have a bad thumb today, so forgive me. I am trying to do everything.
The raiders got to Peter.
Yeah, I was stung by several hornets. No, I wasn't.
But what are they in space? What size are they? Do you know what's the biggest one? What's the...
What you mean, like what they would be to a ship?
Yeah.
I mean, there isn't a real scale situation because this.
I just would love to see one of those like Disney character scales of. We
do have a scale. We do have like a size chart that we made when we were in production because we were trying to imagine, this is supposed to be, of course, like the Death Star, so it's not quite to scale, obviously.
The size of a planet.
The size of a planet. That's not actually how it appears in the game, but we had fun with the scale anyway, trying to make the raiders larger than the player ship so that you felt like you were against quite a bit of an armada when you were out there fighting. So they're meant to be, especially when we were building Dwellings too. The minis in that game are monsters, and so we wanted them to be. I don't know if anyone's ever noticed in the art, but when we were making that game, we were inspired by Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings has that great scene of the two dwarven statues built at the river. There's just amazing scale on those. So we were thinking about the monsters always having an angle up. If you've seen the way that the artist did like the croc, there's this monstrous angle to the way that the Dwellings art was created. We always wanted that scale to be epic. I think that we were always thinking about Andromeda the same way. I know Sergio didn't exactly do that. He did sort of put them in sort of just a giant space background, which was fine. So it's hard to see the same scale, but Will the ancient brain ever enter a planet? No, the ancient brain is not interested in planets. It's actually interested in destroying civilization. So it focuses on where all the leaders and the ships are at the Alliance bases. It wants to mind control all of the the factions that travel around these bases. There's a lot of fun raiders in Andromeda's Edge, let me tell you. I did see somebody ask about a card combo with the Ancient Brain, being able to lure it with one of their ships, and I was like, it's susceptible to deception as well.
I like that.
I also wanted to answer Mark's point here too. I would love a breakdown of the Unity commanders. That is on our list of things to do for sure, because
We're not officially done with the faction videos. We are
the faction videos are
technically done.
But now we're going to focus on some more content. I would like to go over the modes of play. Some of the we're going to do a setup in case anything in that needs to be, just in case people are getting anything wrong. And I know a lot of people are setting up the game already, but to help people who are coming in, and also if you want to play with the vortexes, if you want to play with various module types, and then definitely the Unity commanders, we want to talk about those. Although I might not be the best expert anymore at the Unity commanders, because there are people playing this game, finding out, like Mark is, how to beat these commanders, which faction against which commander, is a very fascinating discussion, and certainly something we hope will be continuing as we release this game.
If there's any content anyone's got, things they'd like to see more of, or areas of the game they'd like us to go over specifically in a little video, just let us know. Feel free to comment underneath any of the videos. We get notifications for everything. Just be great to know what else you want to see and what you liked about the faction videos, because it's good for us to know going forward with future games, whether you want to see that level of breakdown for everything. I don't think we would have done every individual videos for every dragon in Flamecraft. That might have been excessive.
No, I mean, Flamecraft was a different game, right?
But if it's relevant, then it would be great to know.
Yeah. So it's relevant for Critter Kitchen because there's a lot of content in Critter Kitchen. We'll be thinking about how to present various strategies and fun combos in that game. There's also a lot of different carts, and people will have questions about how each cart works, and so there's chances to do a lot of content. But for Andromeda still, it is going to be, we know that we have a lot of BGG questions, and we're building a FAQ. And we've got our Discord where we're answering questions all the time. But if anyone says, oh, I really would like to see some specific footage, we'll continue to work on it. We support our games for the long haul. And so we still answer questions about Flamecraft as well. It's a different...
I just got one asking how Chonkers works.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
You got to feed him. Feed Chonkers.
Oh, and look at that. Rosie, props to the reboxing and unboxing videos as well. Those are,
I think so. Yeah, so Box Meeples, I hooked them up with a copy for their wedding present. They're friends of mine, so I got them a copy, and they're obviously opening the largest wedding present they probably ever opened, a giant box. And I think that they loved Dwellings, so I feel like it was the perfect thing for them. But yeah, I've had Paul Grogan did an unboxing of it on his channel, and then he commented on the BGG thread, this was a great reboxing. So clearly he went from unboxing
good.
So I'm glad it's helping people, because that's what I look for when I get a game. I go, how do I put it back in? I just want to see someone do it, and then I can copy it. So
I mean, some people have said, hey, why isn't the guide, we did do a how to put it back, but it's a single page. It is meant to be just a reference in case you're just trying to remember something, but it is definitely, the first time is I saw what Paul did, pulled everything out, and then you're like, wait, where did that go? I totally understand how that could happen. I've had that myself with games before. Now, I definitely think on the solo, I did watch the one that was just posted, that I know Marcus shared. I really liked it, and they nailed the rules, but I still want to do one myself anyway. because I really want to. So I did one for Flamecraft, and it really helped people, I think. So I do like to do that kind of a video. I think I might do one live, so that because the issue for us, I think, is it'll be a lot of editing. We don't have a team that's set up for. We have Rosie, who's our best editor on the team, but I think maybe if I do one live and I can just answer questions about my play, that might help.
I think that'd be really fun
Yeah.
to see you play it solo, and also I'd love to like talk it through with you while you do
Oh,
it,
it'll
like
be
what are
fun.
your
Yeah, yeah.
choices and everything, because I think it'd be, and also it's not, I don't know, Mark, what's your average length of game now for a solo? Because I'm so curious, kind of once you play it enough times, how quickly can you play it? Because when it's just you kind of doing it, it's not as long a game. So
Hello, by the way. Welcome. I think also in solo, what's really interesting about this particular game is that because we released so many different modular parts to Andromeda's Edge, do you play solo with vortexes? Do you play solo with quasars? Do you play solo with destiny cards? Because Unity will also score the destiny cards. Do you play with relics? Do you play level 1, 2, or 3? What faction are you going for? What's your people have the playthrough that was posted online, and I apologize, I don't know the name of the person who posted it. They played the Pulse War Refugees, and the Pulse War Refugees seem to be really good against Unity because of the supremacy track. So that to me seems, very tempting. But of course, when I find out I loved when the community says what the hardest faction is. That to me is also going to be kind of fascinating. Like who is the least set up to deal with Unity, and who can win that faction versus Unity, right?
so Mark says about 4 hours because of AP, and Jelly says 2 hours. So
I do think that if you're playing solo and you're doing, I do know that Mark has played a lot of games of Dwellings of Eldervale solo, and there is what Luke has built into the solo AI is the ability to see the forecasted 3 things that the AI could do. Now, one of the ways to play solo is that you can study those 3 things and study them well and say, okay, and I've seen Mark do this, where he said, in this scenario, this is the only safe realm. Now, that's in Dwellings. If you do that in Andromeda's Edge, of course, you could do the same thing and say, this is the safest, this is the best play. But that could take longer than if you kind of just fly by the seat of your pants, which is how I play the game. And then you just go, let's see what happens if I go right here. Now, that is usually why I don't win as well as many times as Mark does.
There is a question.
Yes, we'll take any questions on Andromeda's Edge. Then we'll talk a little bit about Essen because we are going there next week. And I know there was one question about that too.
I've saved that.
Card that says each opponent damages one of their ships. When I play solo and Unity doesn't have any modules or ships in any region, does one of their ships go to the scrapyard? Yes. So each opponent does include Unity. So they would have to damage a ship. You would have to choose for them what ship to do that to. There's an interesting thing about playing solo is that you could either play solo where you pick what you think is the most strategic ship for them, or you could pick the easiest thing for you. That is your choice. I know some people play solo where they pick the thing that will be the most devastating for you as Unity. I don't tend to give Unity that kind of an edge because they're already beating me usually. So I give them the crappiest option, as is my right to do so. So you choose what you want there. But they are an opponent. They are also considered a player. So any card that affects players or opponents will affect Unity. And anything that affects opponents will affect raiders if it's a card that directly, hits an opponent.
Can I apologize for any weird noises? My dog is licking himself right now. And he's making he's just had his dinner. It's not me. It's not me. He also is repeatedly trying to flip my laptop.
Excellent. I love it. Chaos from the dog. This is great.
Thank you, Dobby.
We are also really sad that Essen is not in Switzerland. I mean, that's a legit feeling. I am excited by Germany, but I have never been to Switzerland. So if one year they could just switch that up, that'd be great.
It should travel like the Eurovision. Whoever wins Essen gets to host it next.
Yeah. But we are very excited to have this game out there. We're having sort of a big party for the game at Essen. It is kind of a big deal because our company doesn't always do shows. In fact, every year we kind of decide we're sort of in an experimental phase at Cardboard Alchemy where we did our own online convention, Potion Con, last year. This year we're putting all our efforts into. We did a retreat with content creators, and we're doing we're showing up big at a show, which is it's a huge deal for our team resources wise, and but we're very excited by it. So every year I think we're going to try and find the right balance for our company. So hopefully we'll hear from people about what type of things you think work for everybody. Do you like to see Cardboard Alchemy out there at more places? Do you like the online shows? Because that was certainly a fun time as well. Do you want to see more activities in our Discord? We do have people in our Discord that play games, but we could do more. Certainly with a game like Ajama's Edge, I would love to do tournaments someday. Let's have some fun where we have people challenging for the title. And we're excited about Essen because not only are we going to bring more members of our team than ever before to Essen, but we're also getting Luke Laurie to Essen. And to me, that is like the biggest thing ever because he is a teacher and he literally had to use up all of his vacation days. It was a very big deal to get Luke there. It's like sort of a dream come true.
American teachers do not get enough vacation days.
They do not. It's an absolute crime. He told me that he only gets 5 vacation days in a year. It's unbelievable. So he's
School trip to Germany.
Yay! Luke has been dreaming of going to this show. This is the show for if you're in the industry. Board game designers are particularly celebrated at Essen, so it makes me extremely happy inside to be able to get Luke to this show, to put him in the same place as all these amazing designers that he is in community. His colleagues are there, and I really feel excited because this show in particular wants designers there to sign things and celebrate, and that's why we're so excited that Luke is going to be there for this moment. Now we wish we could get Maximus there also. This is Maximus's first game, so Maximus will have to hopefully join us at another event. But in particular, Luke, I've been buying him games out of Essen because I know he can't go. So sometimes I buy him a game out of Essen. This time he gets to go and experience all of the German beer and pretzels and, So
this is so you can have your space in your suitcase back. You can bring your own games back.
Yes, right. I've had various times where I've gone to Essen and I've been, I'm going to buy every game because I had sort of like a community of people waiting that I was bringing back like a big pile for. And then there's been other years where I've said, I'm not going to get anything. This year, I don't know where I stand. I was actually thinking about doing a top 10 games I'm interested in Essen. I have not had time to even make that list, but there are some that are on my radar. And if I can get them back in my suitcase, I will. But there was one year where I deliberately brought 2 empty suitcases and I said, I'm buying everything I run into on purpose just to see if I could get every bit of hotness. I chased like Thursday morning. I was like running around like a madman, just trying to get everything.
I have a little list, but it's very quick. It's Cube Melt by Origami. It's like trying to before an ice cube melts, give it the best life you can.
That's a cute theme, actually. I like that.
Capybara, which is Capybara's cafe.
Oh, I did hear about that one. Yeah.
Things in Rings. I just want to get it.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? Wait, hold on a second. Things in Rings. Sorry, Rosie, I've got that right. I've got that right here. Done. I got one item on your list.
Outrageous. Oink Games has a new game, something Venice it's called. I can't remember the name, but it's by the same designer as Deep Sea Adventure, which is one of my absolute favorite games. And they're doing a signing as well with a bunch of Oink Games designers, but it's for 30 minutes. There's 5 designers and it's just 30 minutes on one day. So I imagine that being pretty hectic. So I may not do that.
Yeah.
And then Newsboys by Saatchi and Saatchi I've been looking for ages. So it's a pretty, but they're all small stuff because I don't have the space and in my flat or in a suitcase. So I have to be very, very careful.
I know that I'm very fortunate that I can just say this is research and development. That's why I can get some extra games.
Let's put it in the office,
Yeah, just we have to study the hottest things. There's a lot of games mentioned by. My plan is to go over the list mentioned by Thinker Themer. They had a top list. I tend to sync with them really well.
Yeah.
I like to watch Rahdo's top 10 just because it's a good indicator of heat. I saw Paul Grogan was covering a lot of games.
Don't say that.
Nice.
I already actually know someone driving who I eventually will be related to, and I'm like, don't say that.
Anyway, just to go back to the Luke topic, I just wanted to mention that, when Dwellings of Eldervale came out, it was 2020. So we couldn't give Luke that moment. In fact, he had another game releasing there was that year, 2020, he was supposed to have Cryo release, Dwellings release, and there was a third game as well. There was like I don't know if it was a re-release or the Cold War expansion on Manhattan Empire. He was like going to have 3 things popping up at Gen Con, and he was all set to go. And then it was not a safe show, obviously. So this is kind of a belated thing to get him to a big release. I don't think he's ever had a show release, like a big, premiere like this. That's very exciting.
It's really cool. If I had the bandwidth, I'd plan like a flash mob of raiders. But I don't think I could get people. I hope all the demoers realize they'll have to do a raider-based dance.
Yeah. There's so many fun things we have planned. I can't wait to share pictures of the show for everybody because we have printed a giant Kraken standee at 6 feet tall. There's also a Ancient Brain standee and the Ice Pirates are going to be real. So that's so good.
That might come home with me.
There you go. Your flat always has room for Ice Pirates, right?
Yeah, I don't need art on the walls. I just
see what Dobby does with the Ice Pirates.
I mean, he'll be fine. He does like cardboard. I could turn it into a little bed and he has to walk through the mouth to get into it.
There's a funny dogs are so adorable and stuff. And I'll tell a story very briefly of Brad's dogs because he has 2 dogs and they love wrapping paper to the degree that like Christmas morning is like there's 2 epic. There's like the unwrapping and then there's the dogs getting their chance at like the wrapping paper. It's pretty awesome.
I have trained Dobby to open presents so he can hold and tear open and he can do the whole thing. Nice. And then he gets the present and goes, oh.
Yeah,
he really likes the unwrapping. So Christmas is also just as volatile because he's thinks all the presents are for him. It's not.
I'm pretty excited to also get the giant Kraken, maybe not the one that's at Essen, but get another one brought to my local store. We have a store that got their copies, Geeky Tees and Games, and they have a sci-fi mural in the front of the store, and I would love to put the Kraken there. That'd just be epic. So
yeah, that would be really cool. I think I'll be able to hide fully behind it based on the height, so I'm excited to jump out from behind it. There's a couple of questions. Will Critter Kitchen be at the show?
We are going to bring a copy of Critter Kitchen. It's not going to be officially on the table, but we're going to have it behind the scenes. So if you want to see it, you could always ask and we could bring it out.
Yes, the secret word is.
Yeah, you have to. We're excited about that game. We don't know when it's going to have its debut show exactly because it's delivering in January, and so that's going to just miss PAX Unplugged as well. So it needs its own. It's going to be a 2025 party, but probably a continuous party in 2025.
What would it be like? Food, lots of food.
Oh, God. You know what I really want to do? Alex Cutler has mentioned this, that the first opportunity we get to really celebrate Critter Kitchen, we should build like a soup truck in a booth. Like they basically put like a soup truck facade where you come and you get possibly work with the show to have like coupons to one of the food vendors so that we could basically like you buy the game and then you get like a way to go get food. It'd be really neat to do
I guess
something.
you could, get one of the food vendors to rebrand for the show.
Yeah, right. That would be amazing. We have to talk to Lucky Duck if you're listening. We need to talk.
A giant soup vat, and in it is 7 different ingredients.
That's gonna be so much fun, that game. We had a blast. We're working on an update where we're gonna talk a little bit more about the retreat that we had with content creators. And we played a 7-player game of Critter Kitchen. And what I really liked about after we played that game, we asked all the content creators, like, what's their favorite player count? And we kind of got every answer. Some people were saying, oh, I like it solo. And some were saying, I love the 7. And I'm one of those people I love the 7-player ability of that game. I think it's so chaotic and awesome to have that much going on. But 2 is good. 2, 3, 4, 5 is a blast. That's the base game. And then 6 and 7 is the expansion. It's really something else that's got that much going on.
Yeah, I need to collect up some more friends before I get it.
Here's
Because
my answer
was really fun.
100%. I want to celebrate on this stream that Andromeda's Edge is now in the top 2,000 games ranked on Board Game Geek, which is the site that tracks every single game that's ever produced. And we are gunning for the top. It's so exciting to see it. We started at around 6,500th, so 6,500 games. We have now cracked the top 2,000, and I am ecstatic about that. This is so much fun. It's ranked. It's kind of like I don't really necessarily care. I mean, I care because the life of a game can sometimes be based on retailers decide if they're going to buy it based on that rank and based on what the rating is. So it's very important for a game to get that love. But in particular, the reason why I'm so excited to see it is because I think the game deserves it. I think it also confirms that when a game has arrived, if the ranking is like we started at an 8.3, we're now at an 8.7, which tells me that people are having a good time when they play it. That's extremely gratifying when you release a game and it gets played, not just played but loved. I mean, it's just that's what we want. That's really what we're after. We are hoping for, it's funny that this comment coming from the person who predicted that Dwellings was number 1 and that we had another one number 1 type of game here on our hands, which I hope that is correct. Dwellings of Eldervale sits at just outside the top 100 games of all time. So that's Luke Laurie's, original recipe version of all these mechanisms. We think this one is even better. I mean, there's always going to be a place for Dwellings in my game table, but this one it's just all the things we wanted to do in Dwellings that we, had to work through to get to. So this one is we're going to see if people like it. Who thanks for everybody who's taken a chance to rate it too.
Is there any chances of having noisy mini bases?
Oh yeah, that's so funny. An amusing story about that. Sherry Spiro, who's the head of Breaking Games and Add Magic, and she's the person who helped make Dwellings a reality. I don't always talk about Sherry, but she believed in that game, and I have to give her credit for that. And one of the things that she said was, because I told her about the crazy idea to do sound bases, and she said, and that was almost certainly, for anyone who wants to know, sometimes games are a tough business, so they don't really make their money back. The sound bases were like a complete loss. So they were done out of pure love and kind of amazing silliness. They were kind of done despite the fact that we knew they weren't going to like make any money or anything. It was done at a complete loss. But so Sherry said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to patent these so that if anybody else wants to make sound bases, they will have to come through us, which is fun. And I think that's been amusing, but I now can't make sound bases because they're hers. That's okay. I'm thinking of other things though. I would have liked to have people joked about how you could just hit like a pew pew button when you're playing Andromeda's Edge, which would have been fun.
But in space, no one can hear you
Well, there
scream.
we go. So space doesn't have any sound, so it kind of makes sense. We could just like say that
The eerie silence of a raider approaching cannot be heard.
But I will say that for our future games, we are looking into light up effects, and I don't know, just never know what we might try for something.
Smell basis.
Oh my god! The one thing that I'm so bummed we never did, I was going to do smell. Okay, so when Mandy came up with Flamecraft and he said we're going to have a bread dragon, okay, we really honestly, I have the emails where we went back and forth with the plush manufacturer to stick something inside the bread dragon that would smell like cinnamon. We were just very nervous about just that going wrong somehow.
That's what Build-A-Bear do. You can add a scent in the middle, and I have a Frodo and a Gandalf, and I chose Cupcake for. You can just add them to any. I chose Cupcake for Frodo, and I think I chose like Sorda. I don't know what it was. It was something a bit more natural for Gandalf. But you can barely smell them.
I mean, that's the problem. Okay, so that's the thing is I thought, A, we don't know safety tests with, whatever they stick in there. B, we don't know how long you'll be able to smell it or if it'll be too powerful. It was kind of it was a risky thing for us to jump into smell as our first plush. Maybe someday we'll come back around to the notion that
what it would be is Flamecraft perfumes that you could
I'll just put some meat perfume on you and you can just go out smelling like bacon. Then Dobby will definitely take you down in your own flat. Like,
I did always say I would love a candle that smelled like roast dinner so that when Doug came home he could be like, oh my goodness, did you cook a roast dinner? And I'm like, nope.
It's just a Flamecraft candle.
But enjoy this candle.
Yeah, that's the other reason right there. There's too many sensitivities. We would have been the number one customer complaint would have been this is toxic smelling and I can't take it.
A smell can very quickly become like, oh no, too much. Like, you can suddenly just hate it. So you wouldn't want people with their plushies scratch and sniff Critter Kitchen cuts.
I mean, Critter Kitchen would have been another one to do it, right? We should have done scratch and sniff on the stickers, but we were just trying to make sure the stickers worked out from the last time where we didn't have that. We did the Flamecraft stickers and they didn't have like a solid color backing behind the sticker, and we were trying to get that right this time. But we'll eventually possibly get to smell.
It's an interesting one though, because the new game from Ivy Studios, Tend, has actually got scratchable.
Oh, does it?
Player things. I haven't played it yet, but I then replied with, "Is it scratch and sniff?" And they're like, "No, it's like scratch cards or
another patent that you probably can't like actually do." Gotta watch out.
Oh no, lickable Critter Kitchen ingredients tokens.
Oh God,
you're spending too long with Willy Wonka.
I think we talked about this when Alex came on the show, which is that we're going to give recipe cards for anyone who backs the deluxe merch level, and we cannot confirm or deny any of the. Well, don't eat the recipe cards, but then when you bake something, it's also at your own risk. But although Rosie's recipe for cookie dough has been tested,
it has been tested many times.
Okay, good.
But we'll always say everyone's oven is different.
It's true. I remember going to visit my relatives in the UK, and they taught me how to make Yorkshire pudding, and we had to go over temperature ranges because I said, wait a second, what is that in my oven? What is that? Like every measurement was a back and forth a little bit.
Well, Great British Bake Off, they have someone whose job it is to make a Victoria sandwich or a vanilla sponge, some people, in every oven before every day starts.
To
check that they're all correct.
Oh wow.
Because that's how quickly ovens can go wrong. And it's still, and then I remember chatting to some of them from who went on like Kim Joy, and she was like, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're all the same. Ovens.
Right. Yeah, and I
There
have
was
definitely, the thing about baking too is that I'm much more of a I love to cook, and what I love to cook are things like chili that is forgiving. If you put a little bit of this, a little bit too much of that, and you get like a different chili every time. You can't just get a different cake every time. You put in the wrong amount of things and you don't get the thing.
you do get a different cake, it's just not one
Well,
anyone wants.
right. Like you can't violate certain that's one of the reasons why Alton Brown is one of my absolute favorite celebrity chefs because it's all about the science and he explains why, oh, the egg has to do this exact like you have to get this and this and this right because of science, which I think is
Mm.
so great that he does that.
Yeah.
I follow his directions every Thanksgiving for a brined turkey, which is the best turkey
Sound
ever.
good. That does
Because
sound good.
he talks about how the salt has to travel back and forth in and out of the chicken, and it's just like, "Oh, that makes sense when you tell me how it works." I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it now."
It does
Uh,
explain why Doug's the cook in the family, and I'm not.
yeah,
I just get a
Brad,
bit creative and go,
thanks, Mark,
"Yeah."
for saying hi to Brad. He's here as well. Brad is going with us to Essen
Yes, indeed.
to answer that question. I was so excited too because a couple of years ago I introduced Brad to Essen. It's one of my absolute favorite shows. Um, and it's great to connect in the industry because we also have the manufacturers go, the fulfillment companies go, designers, other publishers.
Oh, it's all about Brad, apparently.
Yeah. As you should. When Brad shows up, it's serious. Absolutely.
Yeah. He will be carried around on a throne
I'm
around
also
the
excited
entire event.
because, we're making a game. We haven't talked a lot about this game. We are going to be talking more about this game, but we're making a game by Brad. He is one of the designers of Whisperwood, and we are so excited to make that game. I can't quite talk about Whisperwood yet, but we are going to be talking a lot about Whisperwood, and Sergio Chavez is on the job for the art, which is going to be so exciting.
It's
Um,
awesome.
there are critters in Whisperwood, and what's going to be really cool is we're going to see now Sergio's take on critters, which is going to be really fun.
I know what I'm hoping for.
There is a well, when we start doing behind the scenes and we show more Whisperwood, there is a frog that has appeared as a contender for a creature in Whisperwood and has gotten votes, not just from Rosie, I will say. It has gotten some votes. Oh, Whisperwood can only be talked about in hush voices. Um, when do we think we'll announce the next project? That is a very good question. Matthew has just posed up there. We've been busy on several projects at once. In addition to what we've been having sort of our heads down, our whole team has been, let's release Andromeda's Edge. Let's release Critter Kitchen. And then we're going to have a lot of big things to talk about after that. So I know that Critter Kitchen is expected for Critter Kitchen expected to release to backers in January and expected to have its retail release in March of 2025. I would expect before the retail release of Critter Kitchen, we will be talking about our next campaign and when that's going to be, with a lot of push to get that game on everyone's radar. Just like we'll also be talking about which crowdfunding platform we're going back to and all that jazz. We're excited. We can't make games fast enough is apparently the thing I'm feeling right now because we've gotten some I can't talk about these amazing ideas that have come our way, and we're like, oh, I want to make that one, I want to make that one, I want to make that one. So yeah, we're very excited. And I will say also for Andromeda's Edge fans, Luke and Maximus are working on expansion stuff already, which is I don't know have a timeline for that, but we'll hopefully also in the new year be able to say what our thoughts are on that. I'm very excited to see what they cook up. They're like in the zone right now.
I'm hoping for frogs.
I mean, there could be frogs in space. That's a possibility. There's totally a possibility of frogs in space. It's not ruled out. Let's put it that way.
I do love how creative the factions, the raiders are. I feel like that anything could be a raider.
Anything could be a
And
raider,
it's
100%.
it's I was talking about there could be like a more like a big toothy more.
You know what I kinda wanna do? I mean, you know, I kinda wanna make we already have blobs, of course, but I kinda wanna make a massive I wanna have a raider that's made out of, material that you
Oh, a
can
gelatinous
shake
cube
yeah. I wanna have a gelatinous cube, I don't know, I haven't really run that by Luke in
just
Maximus.
floating through space with loads of ships just stuck in it. Like,
Yeah, that'd be great, right? Be awesome.
oh gosh.
For
And it's
those
and from my understanding, gelatinous cubes very slowly erode you to
yeah,
nothing.
yeah, I don't know what yeah, that'll be interesting to see if we can do something fun like that.
There was a question about does Unity use their command wheel when they launch to the Nether Void?
Yes, they do, actually, that's one of our FAQ errata that we're gonna work on, getting those all that shaped up for the next edition of the rulebook, but the Unity will always use their command wheel when they go to an alliance base or the Nether Void or a vortex. They treat all of those the exact same way. They treat planets as we'll grab a moon, and then everything else is we'll run the command wheel. Good question.
I think we answered this last time, but can you mix Galactic Dawn and Cosmic
Oh,
Twilight
that's
together?
interesting. They're not meant to mix per se, but they are, as you'll notice, a formula of 2 science, 2 industry, 2 supremacy, 2 commerce, and 2 civ. And if you don't mind seeing different backs when you mix them together, you could decide 1 good science, 1 bad science, 1 good supremacy, 1 bad supremacy. You could decide all the science is coming from Dawn, all of the industries coming from Cosmic Twilight. I don't think that I would do that because I think that I like either the punishing deck or the good deck. But I mean, it's possible. You have the ingredients in front of you. If you want to do it, you can tell us how it goes. The biggest thing about having the games come out is that at that point, people have the game to do whatever you want with. I've already heard people propose some fun house rules. There's another one that was proposed of I saw drafting of neutral ship upgrades. I really like that idea. The other one that I saw was that you don't know what raiders are being you don't look at which raider you've picked for A, B, C, and D, and then it's a surprise when Mortality Sphere appears on the scene or the Ion Storm starts to invade. You have no idea what's coming. That'd be fun.
Well, this doesn't seem to be a question. It's just saying how great the
Yes.
editing is
I
on
mean,
series.
seriously, we could say that over and over, and I would not get tired of saying that.
If anyone has any questions about stuff like that, I'm more than happy to
Yeah,
answer.
that would be fun.
I'm not fully self-taught, but I had an amazing colleague who taught me how to edit, and during lockdown, I decided to do it for fun. And I genuinely kick and giggle, like kick my feet and giggle sometimes at
Oh,
things I'm able to do and cut things together.
I have a lot of fun with that too. I have, I do all my editing in After Effects because that's what I was trained on at Disney. I actually did I did a trailer that was for Cars 2, like where I did the entire trailer with another renderer in After Effects. And all of those years of like, I'm hazy, but I love editing. The thing I don't like, and the reason why I am glad that Rosie is willing to take it on, is the time to edit is wild. Because then if you have ideas, oh, I'm gonna do this transition, I'm gonna do this, then it's just the time. You're gonna spend a lot of time.
Yeah, luckily, I mean, you went straight for the big guns with After Effects. That's like top of the list, hardest one to
Well, it's fun because you can do when you really get into it, then the transitions are quite flexible. Like, you can animate the transitions however you want,
yeah,
and it's really great, yeah.
which is great. Yeah, I mean, I learned the Final Cut way
Final
because it
Cut's
was
great, though. That's the way to go.
it was the logical thing to learn. And then the second I learned it, that entire company moved to using Adobe Premiere, and I was just like,
Oh, right,
come
yeah.
on.
Premiere's the other one, right?
But I find that I know all the shortcuts, and it's very, very fluid and logical for the kind of content that I make and that we make.
Yeah.
So
For anybody who doesn't know, Rosie puts out a TikTok every Monday for Cardboard Alchemy. Those are really fun to watch, and yeah, our TikTok is we should do more over there when we have a free moment to kind of like run some like just fun lives and stuff like that. I would like to do more.
yeah, it's another planet, TikTok.
It is another planet, apparently a planet where Flamecraft reigns supreme. If there's ever
Yeah.
Flamecraft content on TikTok, it does really well over there.
Critter Kitchen's also quite popular.
Oh, nice.
Just because, you know, I think there's something about the style that Sundara has
Yes,
for those games that just draw people in.
100%.
A lot of it's exciting. I make videos about Kickstarter games, and when I get certain games that I'm like, I know that this one has a theme that people will be instantly engaged with. And then some, it's like, even though it's a great game, it's harder to relate to people because the audience may not just be there yet with board games. They may be like,
Right.
oh, it seems a bit hard, or oh, I don't really get it. You know, it's fun to kind of figure that out, like how to get people to see the games. So yeah. Mighty Max has asked a question.
Now that all the factions have had their own introduction videos, can we know your actual personal favorites? Ooh, that's a good question. I think that's fair to answer that. We should, Rosie, do you have a favorite?
I do, but it's really obvious.
Is it really obvious?
Well, I have 5.
Oh, you want to go over your 5? 1 second. I
have, obviously it's the dragons, the Astro Drakkars and the Flame Keepers. But I really enjoy
look for my fan of factions here.
I really enjoy the Jelluloid Technoblorps.
Those are thematic.
I really enjoy the mushrooms too.
Look at I was looking at my fan of factions and then these came in.
I just really enjoy the damage control and everything, but also, you know, the mushrooms with their nanocarbon. I just think that they are very thematic to me and I can really get into it.
They are very thematic. That was you know, the Easter egg nod, of course, with the Technoblorps is the fact that we made Mission Catastrophe. And Mission Catastrophe had Blorp Johnson, which, you know, Axel likes to mention because he was one of our original fans of Mission Catastrophe. And the Technoblorps have, you know, sort of a tie to Sergio as well, who was the artist for Mission Catastrophe and drew Blorp. Blorp is also one of Brad's favorites, and Brad came up with the lore that they are from the planet Jelluloid. And once we knew that the Blorp Johnson was from the planet Jelluloid Prime, that's actually the official planet that Blorp is from, then we thought the Jelluloid Technoblorps have to be a thing in Andromeda's Edge. We're making a second sci-fi. They had to come in. So thematically, I agree. These are in my top 5 because also I love the play style, right? You can score. They actually, when they were first designed, you still took damage during an event, even though you had in an event, you score a track minus any modules that are damaged, and even the Blorps would take that damage. But then at some point, Luke and Maximus decided, nope, you can ignore. You have the ability with your adhesive ooze that you don't take damage when you have 3 or less modules that are broken in any way. So you could use a blitz module in the world. In the top 5 for me.
Am I cutting out or are you cutting out? I'm not sure. Let us know who's cutting out because I'm getting a frozen Peter on my end.
Oh no!
But I don't know if it's me or you. So I don't know. You seem to be back.
You just disappeared for me, so it's either you or me. So
it was you. Oh no! Oh no! The one saying things. No.
Okay, so I let you go to the screen for a minute. Then
I think you're okay now. You're fine now.
Am I?
Yeah.
I phased out. Am I
You
back?
phased out. I think what you were giving was top secret opinions.
Oh wow. Okay, so whatever I said about the Jelluloid is not recorded. Okay, great. Excellent.
There's a bit in Agatha All Along, the latest Marvel one, where when they say something, their mouth just like goes with signage across it.
Okay, well, if I'm coming through, I was just saying that these are thematically really great. They've got a reference to Mission Catastrophe. They've got a reference to Ghostbusters because you've got the ships are named Slimer. So they are really fun to play. They've got a lot of fun. They start off with science and industry, and those are really fun tracks to explore. So those are great. I believe Rosie was also talking about the Flame Keepers. I mean, come on, right? These are
It can't not be a favorite for me. I just love when you said the bread dragon is sort of randomly pressing buttons and doesn't really know.
Ooh, look at that. Doesn't know what they're doing.
It's so
I
cute.
will always remember when Will Brown played this faction and then had the torpedo hauler upgrade and literally was pretending that the bread dragon was just firing torpedoes, just firing torpedoes.
Oops, my bad.
Yeah, like that cracked me up. And that's a very satisfying faction because you get credits whenever you either build a development or you go get a module for any reason. So it's extremely satisfying. If you can just do that every turn, I mean, it's really fun to collect all the credits. I don't have a very good winning track record with the Flame Keepers, though, especially also because, as I mentioned, there will be a 2v2 where my partner was playing them and we got destroyed by very aggressive factions. So they are not my absolute favorite, I guess, to go out there and fight. But I think they have advantages in certain like high player count games where you can sneak by raiders. I think maybe they you got to play them to their advantage, which is to craft. You got to craft.
The meat dragon just saying the Gondor bacon is lit. Is that what he's doing in the art? What's the meat dragon doing?
The meat dragon is the captain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, look at
The Gondor bacon is lit.
that.
Just mixing up all the worlds.
I've got other favorites.
Flamecraft coins for the Flame Keepers instead of credits, which is really cool.
Yes, that would be. Okay, I will tell a story that we didn't do. When we released this faction, on the back of every faction is the starting resources. I really, really, really wanted to put meat, crystal. I wanted to put just Flamecraft resources back there, but we eventually said no. There'll be entire BGG threads about what the hell is this? I can't play, which was sad because I think that would be funny.
That's where the scratch is. Scratch it off, and underneath.
Yeah, there's a label there you can actually just bring out. Because the thing is that technically speaking, if you started the game with a meat, a bread, a plant, a crystal, an iron, and a potion, you would still be able to play because there are Andromeda's Edge markers that say you can spend any resource when you would just have to figure out how and when to spend the iron and the crystal, or you could say the iron is also titanium, but that would have been a fun. Maybe someone could put a house rule about it where you start with more resources, but they are Flamecraft resources and you have to use them in the any. You can't use them for energy. You can't use them to go buy specific modules, but you can use them for anything.
What would be a good starter factions for the Teach?
I have listed my favorite 6 factions for a starter. I think the Pulse War Refugees are one of the 6 starters that I would absolutely, because they have this ability where they can't, if you lose, you still win. I think that's a really good one to introduce people to. The one we did today, the Zodian Warmongers, are pretty straightforward. They're like the ogres in dwellings in which you just go out and shoot stuff down, and I think that works out really well. I think the Fungadar are like in my top intro ones where they just have a pretty simple, you get resources when ships are in the scrapyard, which is kind of like everywhere, every time, and then you can build a development out of nanocarbon, which is what you're getting from all the turns. The Tolzid Porters are also in my top 6 starters because they are extremely flexible. They've got pick up and deliver, which is a pretty easy thing to grasp. They can also buy from any module field at any time. And then also in my top 6 for intro is the mechs. Mecharon Synthborn. I feel like conversion of titanium and energy really teaches you the game. Plus they've got the ability to go fighting. They got a Terminator. They're a lot of fun to have the mechs. And then my last one in the sort of intro ones I'd bring out is the Arcano Shipwrights, which I figure like they're super combo-y. They basically help you go up tracks, and like they have those types of turns where someone's looking at you like, what? You get to do that and that and that and that. Oh my God, it's so much fun. But
Mighty Max has called you out.
no, I have some favorites. We were talking about the Jellyloid Technoblurps, which are in the top 5, right?
It's hard to pick a favorite when you haven't played them all recently, like all the time.
I have favorites for if it's a small player game. So my favorite, if it's a small game, is the Darkstar Acolytes. I love the Darkstar Acolytes because they have a ghostly presence and they get to use an alliance base when you're pulling back. So it's a really cool pullback turn. You come back, you use, I don't know, the dev office plus your architect. You can get 2 developments. If you can pull that off, you also can use the fields and buy a module right before you're about to use it. I don't think I would go Darkstar Acolytes in a big game, but I do think I would go Darkstar Acolytes in a small game. So I think they're an amazing faction for that. In the top 3, I definitely would pick. This is Luke's favorite. The Plutonian Empire is just sheer joy to play because you get to tick this little clock, and when it gets to the end, you go up whatever track you want. That is unbelievable.
My fifth was the Space Pirates of Nightmare Cove.
Oh, yeah, the Space Pirates, which by the way have a special. They're special to me because Nightmare Cove is my original game. The first game I ever made was called Nightmare Cove. Space Pirates are a lot of fun, and it's one of my favorite pieces of art that Sergio ever did.
It's awesome.
But I'm going to, God, I might have to say it, what my favorite is right now. This is a tough call. I'm going to do it. This is a weird, no one would probably expect this, but this is my absolute top. The Nebulon Cloud people, to me, are, from a theme point of view, they are a really interesting faction. You're just like, you're cloud people, right? It's not typical. It feels very interesting sci-fi. They're there to gather. They're basically there to study the nebula and take it apart for energy. They're basically like they're not there because their planet was destroyed. They're there to absorb the edge. They're there to figure out the edge and to discover it all. And what I really love about their power is it's got the drift ability, which is it's amazing to drift when people don't see it coming. The thing that's so cool is their ship upgrade. You get to actually get cloud scrapers and take every single one of your transports into the nebula, control the event deck, which absolutely will crush if you can do it right. You can get free resources every turn, and then you can do super developments right under people's nose. Now, I have lost with the Nebulon Cloud people almost every time, but I enjoy the hell out of those games. I can't get enough. If I see the Nebulon Cloud people in my starting 3, I will probably pick it because I'll be thinking, this is the game where I am going to do it, where I'm going to drift. It's going to be so good, and it's going to be so cool.
You want to swap the ships out for some Mario Kart cars so you can drift. Mark wants the deluxe Doomsday.
The thing is that there are so many good ones. We didn't bring up, Allied Tribes, being able to use the leaders. I know Mark mentioned that as his favorite. You've got this is insanely good. Like, if you're looking to win, you could go with the Weldon Forge folk because they have a gridiron possibility that's amazing. Probably my dark horse, the one that I don't know how to win well, but it's gorgeous. This could win for best art. Sorry I'm not throwing Sergio under the bus, but seriously, Purple Dragons. And he was so gracious to let Sandara contribute to his factions. Those are amazing, but they are so hard to win with for me because if you're a little bit better at the game, I think you could crush with those because the dragons layers are so good. But
I won with them once.
Did you?
Yeah, I won on my second game.
Yeah, nice.
On TTS, but you helped me quite a
lot. Elders of Dwellon, this is like, pure nostalgia, right? Like if you are a big fan of Dwellings of Eldervale, the fact that they've got spells is really fun. I saw Jeremy Howard play in that 4-player game, and now I want to play an amazing game of the Krone, where they're just hatching ships and building as fast as possible. And arguably, if Tim Chewin ever ends up in this chat again, we can't not say this is the most fun to play, right?
Speaking of which, you speak very highly of him in his faction video.
I know, right?
So, for any of you curious, I would definitely recommend going and watching the
that was so
Guardian
great
Howlers faction.
So we had an objective opinion of the Wolf Guardian Howlers.
Very objective, yes.
Ooh, look at this claim by Gel. I have not lost a single fight with the Astro Dragons. They do have one of the best ships that's been put in the game, which is the Starwing, which can take 2 damage, and you feel fearless when you're in the Starwing. You absolutely feel like I could go anywhere. So thank you very much.
Yeah, just go read the comments under that video. It's really funny.
That was a very fun video to do, for sure.
We actually filmed it at the retreat because Tim was there. It's actually all a trick. We're not even in the office.
Yeah, no,
and absolute major props to Tim because we just threw him in it.
Yeah, no. He didn't just do a bit. He covered the strategy of that faction. I was really impressed by that.
Did a really good job. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. So when you see the 2v2 game that's going to be posted, you will see how not to play the Wolf Guardian Howlers. Not approved by Tim Chewin in any way. I waited too long. I was like, oh, I'll convert moons later. I'm going to grab all these good moons. And I fell into the trap of not wanting to get rid of the good moons. And you got to get rid of the good moons, as Tim points out in that video. You have to spend them.
Megan wants to know about getting the Space Wolves.
yeah, we'll have the wolves on our shop. We actually specifically got extras of the factions. We're going to get all of the fulfillment done. So it might be a little bit because we've got to get games to Israel, South Africa. We've got to get a lot of games out. But then as soon as we're done with fulfillment, we will put the Astrodrakis, the Flamekeepers, and the Flamekeeper shop, and the wolves, as well as wooden moons and sleeves, anything people are looking for. While supplies last, we have a couple extras of, we did anticipate people wanting the wolves, so there's a little bit more of those, especially because Tim does the job of shouting out the wolves quite a bit, so we'll have some wolves around.
Was the Starwing inspired by the Star Fox Nintendo game?
I cannot answer that because that one specifically came from Luke and Maximus, and I don't know if that's what they were thinking at the time, but
it could be. I knew someone who's obsessed with the Starwing and tried making a version of it that could 3D print and everything.
Yeah,
but I've never played Star Fox, so I don't
There's
know.
Easter eggs that go beyond my complete knowledge because I love sci-fi, but I'm not as much as a fanatic as say Luke is. So I'm sure he's
thread.
Yeah. Have you spotted everything?
And then people can just keep adding to it
because he's been thinking about a faction that might be related to. I mean, Luke plays a lot of Star Wars board games, and there might be some rebels that get in there somehow. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
So.
And Star Wars is free reign anyway. So.
I mean, well, for inspiration, for sure.
Winnie the Pooh's free reign, so we could do that.
There we go.
Cthulhu's free reign.
Why not? I am excited to say that we did leave a little room for some factions, and I do think factions will be easier to do than dwellings, because in dwellings, because it was color coded, we kind of ran into this issue even when we were thinking about expansions, of which there are some. Luke does have new faction ideas, but you have to do 2 at a time because you have to do a color board, and there's a whole thing. This one, they're not tied to a certain color, so you can and they're not they're very easy to produce, like another one. So we might see the factions grow from 18 someday. That would be fun.
More videos.
And then we'll have to do the best faction is, and then the Critter Kitchen characters have to get into space. I don't know.
It's never gonna end.
I mean, we basically put the Swedish Hef and pigs in space. We should do that.
Yeah, it would be amazing. A Muppet Raider. Oh my goodness.
Right. There's a lot of possibilities. There's so many ways the game could go, which is really fun. I've already seen some people post ideas of factions, and we could see region ideas, and we could have lots of different fun things.
I'd love a Dark Crystal-esque one.
Oh my god. I have to tell you a funny story about the Dark. So I love the Dark Crystal. We've talked about this. When Dwellings was coming out, we had just funded Dwellings on Kickstarter, and the Dark Crystal prequel series had come out on I don't know.
Netflix.
Was it Netflix? I was gonna say Disney Plus wasn't around at that time.
It was Netflix because they filmed it in Camden in London, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't get to go.
Yeah, so one of the things that I thought of at the time is there's 7 factions in the prequel plus the Skeksis. We could have done like we could have basically done the 8 tracks related to. I thought of a way we could have done Dwellings with Dark Crystal as a theme. I was kind of obsessed with that idea for a little while. But I heard that Jim Henson and team do not fancy crowdfunding. A good friend of mine told me that they're not really a fan of crowdfunding initiatives. But I was so tempted to like still reach out and be like, but listen, just hear me out for a second. Dark Crystal Dwellings of Eldervale would have been something.
There is a Dark Crystal board game as well.
I know there is one. I actually don't have that one yet. I have to track that down. Actually, I'm really good friends with the guy who created the minis in that game.
Good minis.
Oh man, he also loves Dark Crystal, and he was asked to do the minis, and he's a famous
dream job
New Zealander that specializes in fantasy miniatures and fantasy sets, like giant D&D type sets. So yeah,
I think the faction power would be and sad now, because my favorite quote from it is actually in the prequel where the Skeksis is trying to get a necklace off and then she's like, this was very special to me, and he goes, sad now. I just love the Skeksis so much. The vibes of them.
So good. Yeah.
Trial by stone. That's a power.
Yes, there we go. Yes. Well, now we have to tell Luke about Luke. We've decided half of a faction. Now we have to have the Dark Crystal come in this. There's a fun comment about the music. The music that we've been using in the faction breakdown videos is actually from the trailer, which was picked by Oniro, who did our trailer for the original campaign, and I don't know where he found that, but we borrowed it a little bit for the faction videos. It's not official.
It's by someone. So if you let me know a part that you like, they're by different people. We can
we can find that out.
But otherwise, just listen to that, watch that video on repeat.
I do like that. I do like that sound a lot. So if we were to eventually like make a longer soundtrack, that'd be neat, because people have asked. I just saw in the Discord, people were saying, "What's the official, the official soundtrack?" We don't have one. If someone makes a Spotify and wants to share it, we will definitely. All of us will play the game and judge your soundtrack. But I suggest highly that you should put 80s rock and. I don't know. I feel like it's a Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok type of game, but of course, maybe someone feels like it's a Space Odyssey, kind of game. Who knows, right?
Fifth Element.
Yes.
I'm thinking like Farscape's intro it's impossible to sing it if you know Farscape. It's just like, it's like yeah, like something like that.
Yeah.
Cody Martin is actually Cody Martin. That is.
I apologize, but we have to cut this short now because I just realized I do have to run. But please, let's talk more. We are going to be missing next week because of Essen. We will see if we can film some fun things to share when we come back. But in the meantime, we hope that all of you are enjoying your games, or if you're just about to receive your game, have a blast and ask us in Facebook and on YouTube, Discord, BGG, whatever you want to choose as your platform of choice to ask us whatever you want to know about Andromeda's Edge. We're still going to be here celebrating. Dobby is going to pick which faction is Dobby's favorite. And everybody enjoy your weekend and game on.
Bye.
Dobby.